Hello and welcome to Bedson and Coffey Unfiltered,
where we will be discussing fitness, lifestyle, healthy eating habits, relationships, gas station performance pills, answering romantic queries. You have anything else, Tyler? Is there anything? Do you need help with anything right now? Because I feel like I'm in a position where I can help you with it.
I mean, and everything else that we come across as we go. But you know what it's going to be, right?
It's going to be unfiltered. And even the on the Land O'Lakes butter, the Native American girl, you ready for it too?
What is it now?
It's fucking nothing. It's like we want diversity, we want all these things, and it's like then okay, you took all them off. Now the only fuckers left there is Captain Crunch and the Quaker Man. Like it's only fucking white men now on the boxes. Look what you did.
Yeah, took it all away.
Look what you did.
We're good.
Okay.
Oh. Hey, so remember, you ever one of those friends when you were growing up where you're just like, you became friends with them, but it just made every situation a little bit more interesting?
Yeah.
So I had this kid.
Good and bad.
My first year, so I went to college at Murray State for my first year of college. And
right.
I remember I worked out with this dude named Craig. And me and him were coming back from the gym this one time. And in dorm rooms, and like the way it's set up, and you're walking down the hallway, it has a mirror at the end of the emergency exit. So I guess so girls can see if somebody's like following them, so they can get in their room or if anybody weird's following.
Safety, yeah.
Yeah, it's a safety feature. Mm-hmm. Anyway, me and Craig going back to the room to eat a post-workout meal. And I remember I look in that mirror and I see this kid following us, and he's wearing a pink and white, like, fluffy top hat. And has a candy cane staff, like, 8-foot staff, like made into a candy cane. So I see that shit in the background, and I'm like, "What the hell is that?" And I kind of look at Craig and like, "You know him?" And he's like, "No, I don't know." So I'm about to close the door to my dorm room, and all of a sudden, this candy cane staff comes in and like blocks the door from closing. And this kid's outside the door. I'm like, "Hey, can I help you, man?" And he was like, "Hey, my name's Nick. I just wanted to know if you guys wanted to hang out." So
you've never met him.
We had never.
And he wedged the door with his candy cane.
Well, I'd seen him all around like campus, and he'd always be just doing weird, different stuff. Like he was an interesting kid. But I looked at Craig and I kind of thought about it for a second. You know what? I said, you know what? Why not? So
what? Yeah,
why not, bro? But I'll tell you, he made our whole semester that year the most entertaining semester I've ever experienced in my life. Like, this kid was crazy, bro. He was like, keep in mind, we were like 18, 19 years old. And I think Nick was like 26, but it was like his first year of college and he wanted to be an attorney. And he was like going to school for all these like law classes. But he went to school with Kesha, I guess, in high school. So he was like obsessed with Kesha. So he had Kesha posters all over his room.
Is she the one that sang the milkshake song?
That's I know you're talking about, no, but Kesha's the one that's like she sang that "Wake Up in the Morning Feeling Like P. Diddy."
Okay.
Which P. Diddy's not a good topic now, so I think she changed the lyrics actually to that. But he like was obsessed with Kesha. He'd wear clown wigs. But this one time, man, we decided to go all drink together, and for some reason, Nick's drink of choice was Everclear. Which just doesn't make any sense at all.
Just Everclear?
Just Everclear. Like, he would take a shot. I don't know if it was to make him seem like he was just like
Nick's
a badass.
Nick's here for a long time. He's here for a good time.
He was wild. But I remember he poured up just like a straight shot of Everclear, and he just downed it. And we were like, okay. So another thing about Nick is he liked to wear clown wigs. So this one time, he decided to drink Everclear.
So I don't mean to interrupt you, Tyler. So, first of all, I don't know what kind of pharmaceuticals you were using then, or you may have used this morning. But this is the best of your recollection what actually happened?
Yeah, this is exactly what happened.
Please continue.
Yeah, so he would wear clown wigs. It was just kind of something he did. It's different. I could probably pull up some pictures of this kid just because show you exists, because I'm pretty sure there's someone with clown wigs on his Facebook. A lawyer? I don't think so, man. I don't think so. But I'm gonna have to message him and keep up. He only messages me on Snapchat. Like, he doesn't, and I don't even have Snapchat really. But that's the only time he ever like communicates with me.
Gotcha.
So this one day, though, he drinks that Everclear. He's wearing a clown wig, and we lose him. Like, we're in the dorm room. We lost him, bro. We were like, me and Craig and another kid we were with, we're like, where's Nick? We can't find him. So we're searching all around. We can't find him everywhere. We're freaking out. We're like, what's he doing? Is he okay? Like all this stuff. So we were going down the elevator because we're like, maybe he went back to his room. We'll go check there. So the elevator opens. There's Nick laying on the ground, completely naked, wearing a clown wig. And we had to like get this kid, make sure he was okay. But that was intense, bro. There were some crazy stories with him. He was the most interesting person I think I've ever met in my life. And one last thing, I remember he took us to his parents' house to cook us some dinner, and he wanted to cook it for us. Well, he made us raw chicken.
That's not something you make, Tyler.
Well, he like microwaved some chicken breasts, and he like.
Okay.
I remember his mom looked at us, and she's like, "Don't eat that."
Whatever he makes you, don't fucking eat
But
it.
man, Nick, if you listen to this, bro, we miss you. You're a good dude.
Nick, I've never met you, but I kind of miss you too.
Yeah. He was really like, he made that semester so
Dude, I get
interesting,
it.
bro.
I grew up in McRae County, man. I remember, hell, I tried drugs once a bunch of times. So I get it,
Yeah.
That's
the thing is he wasn't even on drugs. That was just him.
just high on life.
Just high on life.
Man, wearing clown wigs.
I hope he became a lawyer,
Hanging out
honestly.
naked,
Wouldn't that
you
be
taking him
wild?
back to
Like,
him.
you hire an attorney
And him show up that
and
fucking
he
way.
shows up that way, like he's there to defend you.
Yeah.
That's like, have you seen the show Jury Duty?
I don't know.
It's
I don't
on
think so.
Amazon. We'll talk about that and we'll get into this. But Jury Duty is a show where they have a whole cast and it's all actors except one guy. So they're going to jury duty.
Mm-hmm.
One guy doesn't know it's all like actors. He thinks it's real, but everybody else is an actor and they're like doing this fake case and they have like a fake judge.
Oh, that's tremendous.
And it's got like 8 episodes, but the entire time like the actors are all doing this crazy stuff, man. And so they had like this guy and he's in trouble for something, but his lawyer just keeps messing up everything. Like it's horrible. Like he tries to show a video and he drops the TV completely. Like
I'm going to fucking jail.
people need to watch Jury Duty. It's a very interesting. It's on Amazon Prime. Check it out.
I'm gonna check that out.
But today, what we got in store?
I think we're going to go over some questions and stuff too, because kind of getting a lot of good feedback and people having some questions and so on. So we'll get us started off here. So this gentleman wants to know about leanness during the off season. He's asking, is there a certain body fat percentage that I should try to stay around in the off season? I think what he's wondering is maybe like optimal body fat percentages for growth. Mm-hmm. And to answer that question, I mean, once you get above a certain point and you start to, again, like we've talked about it before, having insulin sensitivity, when you get too much body fat, you begin to be resistant to insulin. Mm-hmm. And, just to keep things simple, that's going to affect growth terribly. Insulin's very anabolic.
Yeah.
And whenever you're lean enough that you can, use those carbs to stimulate growth, it simply works a lot better. If you're an athlete of any sort, just for overall health, I mean, I don't want to see a client get above 15%. There's sometimes with bodybuilding, I think some people try to stay extremely lean year round. I can stay a bit leaner year round, but I don't try to stay stage lean by any means. No. And there's reasonings behind that also that I'll go into in a second. I'll let you discuss this too. But, you're just simply going to grow better if you at least get in a good position prior to that growth phase. A lot of guys will have, 30% body fat and say, I want to build some muscle. And it's like, well, we need to lean up first because you're just going to get fatter. You're not going to be able to, your blood sugar is not going to return to baseline the same way. And you're just going to continue to push your blood sugar up and essentially gain fat easier.
Oh, yeah. Anytime I have anybody start with me, my initial setup is always a recomp. So I'll always start food a little bit lower, go ahead and get them a little bit leaner and get them in a good spot to grow. Mm-hmm. So what I'm looking more for whenever I have anybody that wants to put on muscle mass is their structure. I'm not looking as much at weight as I am of how their body is coming together. So if their waist is staying small, but all the other extremities are growing, what we need to grow, the weak points are growing, then I'm happy. For some, that could mean going up 40, 50 pounds in the off season.
Sure.
For some, that could mean going up 5 to 10 pounds.
Yes.
I do feel like it is very different for everyone.
It is.
I do, like you said, try to keep in a good body fat percentage, though. I like you said, 15% is really good. I like to go for like 12 to 18, I think. 18 being my highest, I would go.
We're talking about men here, by the way.
Yes.
As far as females, percentages are going to be different. If you have a female at 15%, she's going to look way leaner than a man at 15%. So again, whenever we're talking about this, and that the percentages he's throwing out are referring to men.
Yes. So I like to keep people in a good spot where abs are still slightly visible. I like it so we can still see details in the legs if possible.
Yes.
And I like there to be so you can see muscle everywhere.
You still look muscular.
Yeah, you still look muscular.
Still have body composition of an athlete.
If you're getting to the point where you're holding a lot of fat in your lower stomach, your lower back, around your chest, I think that's when you've gone a little bit too far.
Yeah.
And you need to clean it up a little bit.
Yeah, so like for me, like I said this on Instagram. I think I hurt some people's feelings, but if you say you're a bodybuilder and in the off season, there's absolutely no lines of definition. You can't see any sort of upper abs whatsoever. You went a little too far. I'm not saying you have to have a full blown six pack and be shredded year round, but again, maintaining a good, body composition so that, again, your body is simply more efficient for that growth is going to pay dividends. Whenever you start adding food, your body's going to be able to use those, that food a lot better.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you're able to keep in a good body fat percentage, your body's going to respond a lot better. I always like to say and look at feedback too, like, are you still a little bit hungry? That's always a good sign. Of course, there are some times, I think, whenever you're getting to trying to push super physiological weights where you're really trying to get up there and gain some extra muscle mass where you're going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, and again, that's case to case, as you had said earlier.
Yeah, and that's where I'm going to really look at stuff and see as far as how the body's responding. Like if I have somebody and say they're pushing their last few weeks of a growth phase, they're probably going to be pretty uncomfortable. Their food's going to be pretty high. It's worth it to put on just a little bit of body fat to possibly get that last little bit of muscle.
Sure.
But then the body's going to tell you what you need to do. It gives you feedback. If you're having week after week where you're feeling like tired after every meal, your strength's starting to go down a little bit, you're feeling sluggish, you're full all the time to the point where you're burping up meals or barely holding them down, that may be whenever you need to go ahead and back it off a little bit because you're probably going to be putting on a little bit more body fat.
Yeah, and I think once you get so many people, they start out, I want to be bigger and I want to be stronger and I want to be leaner. Well, that's like trying to ride three horses at once, man. You only got one ass to sit in one saddle. Pick one. Yep. And for most people, most men especially, every fat guy thinks he's 10 pounds from being shredded. Yeah. And that is not the case. So getting in a better position health-wise and in a better position body composition-wise so that we can throw those carbs at you around your workout, feed you for your workout, use those carbs to help get the blood sugar spike resulting in the insulin spike that's going to help, shuttle those nutrients into the muscles and so on, is going to, again, help so much with that bulking and that growth, performance-wise and so on. And you'll be surprised once you get leaner, when we begin to upfeed and reverse diet out of that deficit, how much food we can eventually begin to push. Oh, yeah. And it can be sometimes difficult to eat. Like, I've been lean and still eating so much that I would almost have labored breathing from so much food in my stomach pressing against my lungs. You can hear me over there after I eat just breathing heavily, and it's like, okay, yeah, but I was in a position where I could stand that, and I was maintaining good body composition, so we was pushing food hard.
One thing I really like to do is, with many of my athletes, is I will put them in kind of like a mock prep. Where it's not as strict, not as hard. They'll still probably get a free meal weekly.
Absolutely.
And I like to get them to a good 6 to 8 weeks out look. And that's normally where I like to grow from.
Absolutely, yes.
I think that's like a perfect spot. So I'll push them hard. I get them to a good body fat percentage where they're starting to say, like, man, I'm feeling pretty hungry. Like, my strength's pretty good though. We want a lot of good biofeedback there, and then we start going and pushing the food back, possibly start adding a cycle. That's the best spot to really, really get progress, get that 6 to 8 weeks out body fat percentage.
Absolutely.
And then
go. I agree with that 100%. And you used the word, Tyler, there, biofeedback, and I was going to touch on that. I think sometimes people... I've had people come to me that worked with other coaches, and they would send me their check-in after I'd sent them the form, and it would be minimal information, and I'd send them the form again, and I would explain. listen, I'm not just doing this because I like to read all this. This is a lot of information for me to read. So it's not, I'm not doing that just to have you do it for no reason. All this biofeedback is what is giving me the information that I need to make better decisions moving forward. And monitoring those things and keeping track of that biofeedback, how you're feeling, how you're digesting your food, how your strength is in your workouts, all these things coupled with, sure, your body weight, sure, your progress pics, all that. But that biofeedback, like you mentioned, is so crucial, to those check-ins and moving forward.
Oh, extremely. Like a great example of that is I have some, and they'll send me their check-in form, and it'll say up 3 pounds when they're supposed to be cutting, and it'll be like under the deviations, it'll say no deviations. They'll give me no info on digestion. They'll give me no info on sleep. And then I'm like sitting there asking 30 questions and wondering what's going on. Yeah. So the more feedback
that makes
you give,
it take so much longer too. Like when you don't, and when you don't give your coach the information that they need, and they have to, play phone tag with you and email tag and so on, that's delaying your response. That's delaying response to other clients and so on. So including all that really helps speed the process so that you get your information faster. You're able to get things, and it just makes things streamline and move much smoother.
Oh, exactly. You tell your coach exactly how you're feeling. It's going to allow us to make proper adjustments to keep you moving in the direction we're trying to move.
Exactly.
Because if I'm sitting there guessing every week because you're not telling me everything, we're going in a bad spot. Like I've had some people, they lie to me every week and they don't tell me the full truth. And then we get food so low that there's no response. And then they finally are telling me like, hey man, by the way, I was eating fast food 4 times a week. Yeah. But by then food is so low, cardio is higher, and we are just in a horrible spot.
Yeah, we're at the ceiling now. Like, where do we go from there?
Yeah, where do we go from there? Because you're finally going to follow a plan. So next question.
All right.
This is a good one. This comes from a shout out to Bill. What age to get into lifting weights? So he was referring to his son, who is 7 years old. Okay. And he wants to know what age he should start doing any sort of weight training and what kind of program would be good. And then let's go and include some stuff on diet there too, if we can.
Sure. So for kids, when you start looking at anything under the age of 7 or 8, I mean, their attention span is going to be very difficult to try to show them how to lift weights and stuff. And it's not going to be a lot of fun for them. So getting them involved in things that are going to help them learn how to control their body, learn how to develop their balance and, stability and things. Gymnastics is great. Yes. I'm a big fan with like grappling and wrestling and these type of things, which is going to, again, teach them, how to move their body. And they're going to get stronger doing these things. Yes. Like gymnasts are strong. Learning how to control your body, that takes a great deal of strength. Yes. And, so they're going to develop muscle there. They're going to develop, coordination and balance and all these things that would essentially help them so much once they start lifting weights.
Yeah. And I mean, so me and Laura have actually talked about this quite a bit, because when we have kids, we've always discussed like, what do we want to put them in to start, and where would we start them with all the information and knowledge we have? And I would say at the youngest age we possibly can, I would start them in gymnastics. I would possibly start them in something like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. Actually, my brother does that. Is about to start that with his son, who is 3.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's about to get him into it here soon. Those are great ones. And I think as far as what age you can start getting people into lifting weights, I would say, he says son's 7. I would say 7 or 8 is probably the best age to actually do, because I think before that, you don't really have the mind muscle connection or the coordination. Yeah. Have you ever watched somebody try to lift weights when they're younger? It just looks weird. Like it doesn't make sense. You can't really explain how to do that to them yet. There's no stability muscles. There's nothing really developed. So where I would start as far as training would be more running, jumping,
body weight movements,
athletic type movements, pushing, getting the body used to doing things in functional ways. Sure. Like that could be helping chop some trees down, or
carrying medicine ball, slamming medicine ball, like even just like anything, all those things.
Like I feel like a good example is kids that grew up on like a farm.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, you have them carrying wood or hay bales or trying to do anything. It's just that's what's going to build those functional habits up. Have them do something like medicine ball slams, like you said, maybe some sled pushes, some kind of box jumps would be good.
Absolutely.
Jumping jacks, even jump rope.
Yep, things that make them, have to control their body weight, get used to moving, things like that. Because that's going to, again, carry over so much whenever they start to lift weights. Because, you had mentioned, like, watching a little kid try to lift weights or something. Well, hell, look at a grown man when he's never touched weights.
Yeah.
His arms are all over the place, and that's an adult. So, you take a child, it's going to be, more so, and then they're going to struggle to understand what you're saying to them as far as controlling the weight and so on, more so than an adult. So getting them used to moving, and then moving from body weight movements that mimic exercises like, push-ups and squats with, body weight squats and so on. Like I'll teach kids to squat with a broomstick a lot of times, and, we'll go from there. But
you learn the mechanics first, I feel. I feel like that's the key, and then you start adding weight to the mechanics. So one of the things, even whenever I was training a 13-year-old back in the day, and he was just getting into weight training, so it was a good age for him to start. But what I would do before we did the movements is I would have him do it with no weight to mimic the movement. So like say we're doing a seated cable row, I would just have him get in the position and then pull and then feel where his muscles were flexing. And then I would have him do that like 10 or 15 times. And then we would actually get on the machine and add weight, and then we would do it. Yeah. So that made him understand what he was trying to do.
Yeah, and that's something too that I'll throw in real quick for adults. If you struggle to flex a muscle without tension, like without weight, you're going to struggle to flex it under weight and under stress. So learning how to actually flex, it's a different subject, but what you said I wanted to touch on, I was discussing with someone yesterday. But when you're working out, learning how to flex that muscle so that you can again flex it against resistance for lifting, that's what we're referring to under that mind-muscle connection.
Yes. So as far as diet, what do you kind of think there? I know I've got my views as far as what I would try to do. I'm not big on kids like dieting too hard, but I do think they need to have some sort of structure.
So what I've seen is, it's I've not seen a 7-year-old that could drive to the grocery store and buy his own damn groceries. I've not. So whenever I have parents saying, well, he'll only eat this and he'll only eat this and he'll only eat this, well, where in the hell is he getting it?
Yeah.
I mean, you're buying it and you're putting it in the house. So what I've found is the kids that tend to eat better have parents that set that example, and the parents eat better.
Yeah.
And the kids that I've seen that just binge on junk food and so on have parents that either do the same or keep it in the house for them because they don't want to take time to cook for them. So and that's just simply the fact. Yeah. If you keep things in the house that are better options and better choices, that's what the kid will eat. And making those changes to get closer and closer to that. Now, obviously kids, a lot of kids, they're more active than a lot of adults. Their metabolism's crazy. They're growing, all these things. But, so having snacks and things like that. And sometimes, obviously, treats are going to, be great. But with that being said, having these high sugar things all the time, throwing Junior a candy bar every little bit, all these things to get him to, whatever, avoiding an actual meal made with one ingredient foods, all those things will add up over time, even with a kid, and they're going to get heavy.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of people fail is they get lazy, I would say, with like what their kids eat. And it's like, okay, well, this is easier because I'll actually eat it. Like, we'll just give him French fries only, or we'll give him a candy bar.
He'll eat mac and cheese.
No, and that's not the case. Like, it's what you introduced him to, and then that's what you give into. Exactly. So I think with kids, I would try to give a small protein source with each meal, whether that be just a little bit of chicken or, try to give me a little bit of yogurt or anything of the sort. Yeah. Eggs. Egg whites, introduce them to things like that. And then I would do probably 3 servings of fruits a day. Yeah. So that could be half an apple or a serving of blueberries or raspberries, and then maybe a little bit of banana.
Yeah. And so many times people say, well, now fruit's got a lot of sugar in it. So, yeah, fruit does have sugar in it. Fruit has carbs. Any carb turns to sugar. And how quickly it turns to sugar is what determines its glycemic rating, okay? Yeah. But with that, I've never seen them have to tear down the wall to a fucking house to get somebody out that was morbidly obese and their bed be surrounded by apple cores.
Nope.
I've yet to fucking see that. So with that being said, whenever you're eating fruit, it is in its own little package. It has micronutrients and fiber and all these things to make you feel more full. Juice is not. Juice is sugar and water.
Yeah.
You know, whenever you're giving your kid, you know, a juice, it's no different from giving them a soda.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, it says vitamins and all that stuff on there, but ultimately it's just sugar and water, really. Mm-hmm. So fruit in itself is going to make them feel more full. They're going to be more satiated. And honestly, with that being said, you know, sometimes people can't see the forest for the trees with that. They're saying, well, this fruit's better and this has antioxidants and so on. Does he like bananas? Let him eat fucking bananas. Yeah. Does he like apples? Fantastic. Let him eat apples. Yeah. You know, for the most part, if you're giving your kid good foods, I'm not really, it's not this big a deal to monitor how much if it's one ingredient foods, because he's going to get full and he's going to feel satiated. Yeah. And kids are really, really, really good at not eating when they're not hungry. Mm-hmm. Like if you see a kid come in, he sits at the table and he eats, you know, he might sit down and eat a whole plate full of food. Okay, well, he was hungry and his body was telling him he needed that. Sometimes I'll say, I'm full, Mom.
Yeah, and won't touch it at all.
Exactly. And I'll see sometimes the parents will say, no, you have to finish before you go back out. And you're forcing them to eat past that point of being full. Mm-hmm. And you're getting used to overeating. Yeah. And then you'll slowly begin to, you know, your body will adjust to that and you'll get used to overeating. Mm-hmm. And then before long, every time you eat until you're overly full, you know.
I think a lot of eating habits are from your childhood. So like they will go all the way into your adult life. So if you were raised to, whenever things were hard, to eat a candy bar or eat a bunch of sugar. Yeah. Well, when things get hard when you get older, what are you going to go do?
Same thing.
And it's funny because like me and my brother are 7 years apart, and my brother and I grew up completely different. He was kind of heavier set, and he actually had to lose a lot of weight because he would eat a lot of different foods, and he was more sedentary. Sure. Well, my parents learned that through him, so they did it the complete opposite with me. I was like, I would eat whenever I was hungry, and that was it, but my metabolism was so fast, I stayed so skinny. And it was like I started the opposite range where I had to, you know, remember to eat, because if I didn't do that, then I just wouldn't, you know, like if I didn't have food and I knew it was time to eat, I just didn't think about it. So that's the difference in like how you are brought up and how you're raised as far as how food is and where it is readily available, how you're told to eat it. Because you like my parents grew up kind of they struggled. Like my dad and mom would eat like raw macaroni when they were younger and stuff like that because that's what they had. And they were taught to not leave the table till they finished every bite of food.
Yeah, mm-hmm. and that's coming from a generation where, you know, there was times when food was scarce.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, you would eat, you know. But if we're, you know, thankfully now most of us, you know, are in better shape than we were in those times and so on. And we can, you know, stand to eat a little bit better. But making better decisions. And, again, not forcing the kid to eat, you know, past the point of being full, but just helping them, you know, giving them foods that they enjoy, but foods that are actually decent instead of just being lazy and throwing them a candy bar. Mm-hmm. That's going to make the biggest difference. So, like, and I think sometimes that's what upsets people is, you know, the kid can't have what you don't give it. And, you know, that's just, if you keep that in the house and that's what you give them because you don't want to cook or you don't want to have better options available for the kid, what's he supposed to eat?
Yeah. If a kid's hungry, they're going to eat.
If they're hungry, they're going to eat.
Yeah, and if they're going to give, if only thing available is something healthy, mm-hmm. I guarantee you they're going to eat.
It's really simple. I'll say this, and then we'll move on to the next thing. But like, kids are little adults. Mm-hmm. They're humans. Why would you think they would need to eat way differently than you or stand things way differently than you? Mm-hmm. Like, do you think an adult could just eat junk food all damn day and live on a serving of chicken nuggets and macaroni and fucking gummies all day?
I'd feel like hell.
You'd feel like shit, and you'd lose muscle tissue, mm-hmm. so on. Yeah, but your kid's an athlete, right? You want him to do well in his sports and so on. But that's what you give him. Yeah. What do you think is going to happen?
They're going to suck.
They're going to feel like shit. They're not going to, yeah. And sometimes the saving grace is youth, you know, when their body can, you know, but still, it's like, if you wouldn't eat it, why are you letting your kid eat it? Yeah. I mean, really, that's the best way I can put it.
I genuinely think if you want to get your child into any type of youth sports, you do have to remember that nutrition is key there as well, because nutrition is what fuels that performance.
Absolutely.
So if they don't eat correct foods or have proper nutrient timing around whenever they're practicing or they're playing a game, they're probably not going to perform as well. So that is something I would definitely keep in mind, because when you're getting kids into sports, that is one of the most important times for them to develop any type of muscle. That's where they're going to develop their initial muscle mass. Like, say you have a kid that plays soccer, they're probably going to develop quite a bit of a lower body. So you have to fuel that, though, with the proper foods.
Yeah. And, they're going. The tissue in your body is built from the nutrients that you take in. I mean, so you take in good food, it helps you build tissue.
Yeah.
So again, and it's not saying that the kids can't have a snack, and so on, but it's one of those things where you have to. They can't just live on junk food, for God's sake. But if you go out, whatever they want a slice of pizza, okay, but having pizza 7 nights a week is going to be an issue, just like it would be for an adult. We don't have to overcomplicate things.
Yeah, it's all lifestyle choices and teaching them better things, which you can do at a young age. They only know what you tell them.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, all of us really are just the sum of our life experiences.
Yeah.
So
100%.
like the things that we do now are things that have gotten us here throughout our entire life, and that means eating and everything else.
And what you learn is what you're going to do, and the more you know, the better you're going to be at it. So
absolutely,
I would say with kids, our goal, me and Laura, is to teach them very young about foods and what their properties and what they do. I think that's very valuable information for anybody. It's just knowing what you're doing and knowing what foods help with this and what's going to do this. And then not controlling and being too strict, but
absolutely.
I think knowing what foods do is going to help.
You can go from one extreme to the other, and either can cause, a bad relationship with food.
Yeah.
So rather than, saying you can never do this or you can never do that, teaching them balance, and teaching them how to, that's like me. I had somebody ask me the other day, they're like, do you eat like Halo type ice cream? And stuff? Like, no, I eat normal ice cream.
Yeah. I
just don't eat a pint of it every fucking day.
If I'm going to eat a cookie or I'm going to eat some ice cream, I'm going to eat an actual cookie or actual ice cream.
But I have enough, understanding and enough self-restraint that I'm not going to eat 24 cookies every single day, because I know what's going to happen.
Yep. I'm going to get fat. Yeah. Next question.
All right. What you got, Tyler?
This is one I get asked a lot, actually, at the gym. Over the years, what age to start anabolics?
Yeah, my mother started putting D-ball in my bottle. Probably, I want to say she was mixing it with formula. So probably, I don't know, maybe 6 months, 7 months.
What's your mom's name? She has a really cool name, doesn't she?
Opal.
I love that name. That's a really cool name.
She's awesome.
Yeah, I've met her. She's super sweet.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Your mother is too.
Yeah.
We're lucky. We got great mothers.
Yes, we do.
Your dad's awesome too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we're just reminiscing. Yeah. Tell your mom I said hi.
I will tell your mom I said hi as well.
I will too.
But what age to start anabolics is I can actually see like you having D-bol in your drinks and stuff as a kid.
Yeah.
That's why you look the way you do. It makes sense now.
Bulking, bro.
Yeah. He was just sitting there like unexpectedly growing. He was like, why am I getting this muscle?
Yeah. Why do I have male pattern baldness at 3?
Remember that one kid that he was like, he became real popular.
Hercules?
Yeah. And then he's like, now he doesn't look anything like that. Yeah. No. Burn out at a young age. But I get asked this question so often, man. And I'll tell myself, like, I started way too young.
Yeah.
I remember I was 20 and I had asked a bunch of guys at the gym that were much older than me, like what it took and all this stuff. And they were basically like, everybody takes it. You might as well start now if you want to be serious. Like, you know how it goes. They were just like, you might as well do it. Just do it. And I'm like, God. So it's like I got kind of pressured into it.
Yeah.
And nowadays, it's kind of funny because I look back and I'm like, man, I could have waited another like 4 or 5 years.
Absolutely.
And I could have developed more muscle tissue. I could have trained to my natural capabilities. I could have trained better. I could have ate better. I did it all backwards. So now I tell a lot of younger kids that I coach, do your first show naturally, if you can, and then go from there and see if you like it.
Yeah. See
how you do. See if you have the mentality for it.
Yeah.
And then maybe think about it afterwards.
Yeah. Once you open Pandora's box, there's no closing it.
Yep.
So like once you start that, like you've started it. So I want to say something that I don't hear a lot of people talk about. and I don't think a lot of people even fucking consider this. Let's just say you're a young athlete and your natural test is, 800 and something, okay? It is possible for you to have higher it's possible for you to have higher natural testosterone levels than an individual older than you that is on TRT or on cycle. So let's say you've got a guy who's 45 and he's taking testosterone and his level is 600 and you're 20 and yours is 800 something and you're natural.
Yep.
Why in the hell would you want to inject testosterone?
You don't need it.
You don't need it.
No.
You don't need it.
That's all I say. I tell a lot of kids, I'm like, go get your blood work done first so you can see where your levels are and I can prove to you.
That's it.
Because majority of the time, like you said, they're around like 700 to 800, and that's perfect. That's an optimal spot to be. I don't think you should really start any type of anabolic until you have discovered a sense of training, a routine with diet, a routine with life, and you're in a good financial spot.
And I agree with everything you said, and I want to add one other thing to it. Until you get healthy enough for it to make sense.
Yeah.
So again, there's so many things that affect that, and everybody's going to say, well, you just keep saying we need to lean up. Well, because most people, whenever they start this stuff, they have excess body fat, and that can actually lower testosterone.
Yeah.
If you are obese and you're saying, well, my test levels are low, well, let's lean you up a little bit and see if we can help that. We can take certain things that'll help naturally with that, and then we'll go from there, and then let's test again, see where you're at again. It may not be the difference in, a big swing in things, but getting you healthy is never going to be a bad option.
No.
And, it's like, okay, well, you're obese. We've got cholesterol issues. We got all these things. Do you really think adding gear, especially if you're not going by a doctor's, guidance, is really going to help any of that? The maintenance guy at your gym is not a fucking pharmacist.
No. And that's,
you know what I'm saying?
That's the thing, man. I've had conversations with people at the gym, and we'll have like this older guy, and I'll be around the vicinity, and he'll be telling some kid that's 18 years old next to him, he's like, you need to run a 750 test. And I'm like, damn, no, he does not need to be doing that.
Yep.
But it's just, I think everybody's in a rush to get results way too quickly that they don't realize what it actually takes.
It does. And and everybody, whenever they start thinking of bodybuilding or anything for that matter, everybody thinks of all these outliers. Dude, you're not Lee Priest. You're not Ronnie Coleman. And, this stuff takes a long time. And even if you're using gear or anything else, it still takes a long time. And I can't stress enough how important it is to take an educated approach to that. And if you go about it and you see a doctor and you get your blood work done and all these things, you can get a very objective look at where those levels are, how to better go about that, how to better handle that. And, and then if you decide to do a bodybuilding show and go beyond that into performance enhancement, having someone oversee that, monitor blood work and so on, who has an understanding and is able to keep you safe. But, man, I think, you take somebody in a good situation and a younger individual who wants to get started, getting a few years in to see what their natural potential is and build that base muscularity, is only going to help them moving forward.
Yeah.
And then, if you decide you want to, take things up another level or whatever else and move forward with that, then there's, it's always going to be there. So that's the thing. But sometimes once you start and you start pushing cycles and staying on TRT or in maintenance phases and so on, your body's, each time, it's not going to come back to as high levels as it was naturally. Yeah. So you can set yourself up to have to be on that. And SARM's another time too. I think a lot of people, just because you can buy them at your local supplement store, doesn't mean that it's like taking.
They make them sound really good. That's the thing.
I know.
And you can just buy them at your local supplement shop, which is harder. But they do lower your testosterone levels, and they can actually crash them.
Selective androgen receptor modulator. Androgen meaning male hormone.
Yep.
Like, it will lower natural testosterone.
Yeah.
And you've got kids. I had a kid message me the other day. He's a great kid. I love the kid. And he's like, I'm talking about taking this SARM and this SARM and this SARM. It's like, yeah, well, what'd you eat today?
Yeah.
He wasn't ready for that question.
Facts, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, and sometimes everybody wants to hear these things, like, take this and do that. And which, we'll use that as a segue. The next question I had, this gentleman messaged me, and he said, what can I take to build muscle? And so in just discussing that, you can take two things to build muscle. There's two things that are proven that will help you build muscle. One, you can take your ass to the grocery store and buy some food you've got to cook. Mm-hmm. And the other one, you can take your ass to the fucking gym and lift weights.
That's it. That's it.
That's the two things you can take.
No, but everybody wants to know what supplement.
Exactly.
And it's not that. It's the supplements are supplements to the diet and training. So if you don't have the diet and training
supplement itself doesn't mean to replace.
Drives me crazy, man. Like I see kids at the gym that I'll talk about their blast that they're running, how much trend they're running, but they don't look any different. And you know why? Because they don't have any routine down with training.
Yeah.
They don't have a consistent diet.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, if you are using any extra supplementation, whether that be natural supplementation or performance-enhancing drugs, if you do not have a routine set with your diet and training, and you are not consistent with that to at least like 80 to 100%, then you're wasting your time, and you're making yourself worse.
I've seen guys in gyms that I knew pretty well what they were taking, and they were taking amounts that I would not suggest, exceeding amounts that I would suggest. And they still looked terrible. They still looked. They didn't even look natural. They just looked out of shape.
Yeah.
Because they would finish their workout and then they would go across the road, get a big double cheeseburger from Hardee's and all that stuff, and that's what they would eat. They hadn't eaten before their workout, so if they had any kind of intensity, the blood sugar would have dropped. They'd have felt like shit. So they just kind of went through the motions, went across, ate junk, and then talk about how they had taken this, and this, and it's like, man, that's.
Well, I think a lot of people are getting their information from, Googling things or just incorrect sources or, even here on TikTok now, some people I'll listen to some kid on TikTok. It'll come across my thing and they'll talk about their cycle. And I'm like, this kid's probably 170 pounds. And he's like, I'm using 600 trend, 800 test, 600 EQ,
150 grams of Cialis.
Yeah, it's just crazy shit.
Yeah,
that's just so unnecessary. And then, but they'll look at them, and I would be like, are you actually on any of this? Is your gear fake? Like, are you injecting oil into your body only? Like, did somebody scam you? But in reality, it might be completely real stuff. They just don't eat enough food. And they don't train hard. Yeah. And that is a big thing I want to point out. If you are struggling to get results in the gym, like you're not growing muscle tissue, it's because you don't train hard enough.
Yes.
You can use all the anabolics you want. You can eat all the food you want. But if you are not training at a high intensity level to accrue new muscle tissue, it's just not going to happen.
I've said this before on another podcast. Testosterone helps with muscle building through this simple fact. Testosterone, higher levels of testosterone increase nitrogen retention in the muscle cell. Increased nitrogen retention in the muscle cell leads to greater protein synthesis. The only time that even matters is if we have adequate stimulation for the muscle and adequate nutrition. If we have neither of those, you can take enough damn test to float your eyeballs, and it's not going to result in building muscle.
Yep.
It's just simply not.
No. So, in conclusion, I think if you're going to start using any type of anabolics, I would say, God, man, what age would you even say would be good?
I think it's different, man.
I think it is different based on everybody.
I don't think there's a one size fits all here.
No,
because I think some people naturally have higher testosterone levels.
Yeah.
And, well, you've got genetic outliers. I think the time to consider it is once you've been training. Once you've worked with someone and gotten a base understanding of how this works, once you've had the foresight to get your blood work done and look at things and talk to a coach or professional to help you understand these things, and then build a plan together. I think that would be the age. I wish I could give you a number, but I don't.
Once you're mature enough. Once you're mature enough mentally and physically.
That's a big part too.
Because if you're not mature enough to actually do what you're supposed to do and work hard and stay consistent, you could be just causing further health problems down the road. And I don't think a lot of people think about that when they're 20 or 21 of what's to come.
Yeah.
What could get worse.
A lot of times the way you do anything is the way you do everything. If you see a guy and he's in the gym and he's fucking off here and he may show up on a Monday, he might show up here, you don't know. If he's going to treat his gear the same way, I mean, that's just going to be a recipe for disaster. So once you're mature enough to do these things and do the routine things routinely and you understand the whys, that would be a good time to consider it.
All right, next question.
All right.
Would you suggest using nose torque in bodybuilding sets?
Nose torque in bodybuilding sets. I keep some on my nightstand. I got that. Kyle actually recommended that. Kyle said he keeps the ammonia capsules on his nightstand.
That's right.
Yeah,
Count, baby. It helps me sleep.
Yeah, yeah. But it also
helps you sleep. Jesus Christ.
Well, what results from the ammonia, by the time he gets through all that, he's so exhausted.
Oof.
Yeah. But also, you got to be careful too, because it might help you sleep, but then all of a sudden now your partner's got back problems. So it's one of those. I mean, you hit that nose torque.
Oh man.
But nose torque for bodybuilding. Jesus Christ.
I see a lot of people doing it nowadays, man.
Because it's cool.
It's become a popular thing.
It's a cool thing. You see Theo Vaughn hitting it on Joe Rogan. I'll tell you this. We were at a gym, and I was working with some clients and helping them with their powerlifting. And from time to time, you see nose torque being used when it's max effort lifts and so on. And these kids had asked one of my clients, what is that? And he said, it's nose torque. I'm like, what's that? He's like, well, it's ammonia. And they didn't know, God, this is probably 10 years ago, and they didn't know that it was like, so for any of you that don't know what it is, nose torque, smelling salts, these things, it's ammonia suspended like normally in rock salt or something like that inside of looks like a pill bottle. And sometimes they'll even have like menthol in it to open your sinuses and all these things. And there's some now that'll just hit you like a truck. And I mean, you'll be ready to throw up. It's ridiculous. But anyway, so those kids, you could kind of see the wheels turning. Well, like a day or two goes by, and I see them in there, and they got this damn Tylenol bottle. And they're getting ready to bench. And like every set, warm-ups, everything, they're opening this Tylenol bottle, and they're smelling that son of a bitch and they're putting it up. And I'm watching it, and I realized, like, they've got ammonia in there. Now, they went and bought, like, cleaning ammonia and put it in that bottle.
Oh, shit.
Not like smelling salts, like the capsules or a nose torque type product. Well, anyway, so I'm training a client of mine, and we're working, and I see this happening, and the kids getting ready to go. I mean, because they just got some nose torque, man, so they're going to max. Yeah, I mean that's what's happening today. And so the kid hits it, and you can see him like pull his head back. Just he don't like it. Well, he lays down, and his friend didn't think that he had apparently got a good enough hit of it. So he lays down, he's getting ready to come off with the bar, and his friend's like, here, hit it again, and holds it here. Now, these young gents knew that they needed to be smelling ammonia, and they knew what that was in their mind. They went and they bought it. The one thing they didn't consider was not putting something in there to absorb the liquid. They just had straight ammonia sitting in that bottle. So when he held that down for that kid to smell it, and he's lying on the bench, it poured up his nostrils and into his fucking head.
Oh, man.
He starts screaming like he is dying, and he's fighting to get off the bench.
That made me in pain thinking about it.
God, it was one of the most amazing things I'd seen inside of a gym. It was fantastic. I hope those two kids are still lifting, and I hope they're still using cleaning ammonia. I hope, because that could be a thing. That's their gimmick now. That would be tremendous.
It's funny that ammonia. The first case I had with ammonia was whenever I was in like 6th grade science class, and I remember I don't know why this was a situation, but our teacher had a big old bucket of it in the middle of the room, and she was like, "Don't go in there and smell it, or you'll be like really screwed up." And so we had this one kid, I don't remember his name, but he just went over there by the stuck his head down there and just passed out. Just passed out immediately. And I was like, so then whenever I was getting older and I learned what nose torque was and I learned it was ammonia, I was like, that's fucking weird.
Yeah.
All I remember is this like kid in 6th grade passing out because of it. So, but have I used it now for a bodybuilding set? Yes. I've tried it. I don't think it's something I like to use. I went with it for a little bit because, I'd have buddies come over to lift and they're like, try this for your deadlift set. When I'm going for 12 reps or an AMRAP on deadlifts. And it's cool. I mean, it did. I feel like it gave me a little bit of a boost as far as like, I didn't think.
Yeah. So
that's
it almost, so what it does is it kind of ignites your central nervous system. Like, it almost puts you in that fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
But I don't want to feel that over and over and over and over and just just having adrenaline dump every little bit throughout my
I feel
workout.
like it's kind of like huffing gasoline. Like it just like slowly kills your brain.
How does that help you with lifting?
Get you dumber, I guess. Like, so you just don't give a fuck about weight.
What not? If you was going to huff gas before an exercise, what would you huff gas before? Fucking CrossFit.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I could see that, honestly. That's how they do some of that stuff.
Isn't it like that's one of the WODs, right? Like Murphy, like you huff gas and then you run. You run like a quarter mile.
You know what's crazy? I think Murph is that one where, like, I always have people do it once a year. And
that's like the son of a bitch one.
And
Like, that was the tough one.
And it'll be like a random one. It'll be like a general nutrition client. They're like, I'm going to do Murph. And then they'll be like, I got rhabdo. And I'm like, why'd you do Murph? Like,
I got rhabdo.
Why did you even try to do that? Like, why was that a random... Who convinced you of that? Did you really read that workout and be like, you know what? I'm ready for this. I feel like that's something like you have to do a little bit of... You got to be a little bit ready for that.
Yeah,
primed.
that's like you've just been doing push-ups for a year, and you think I'm gonna go ahead and try to bench 500 pounds a day.
Yeah, you got to eat a good
See how
meal
that
the night
works.
before at least. Eat some pasta or something like that.
Huff some gas.
Huff some gas, honestly.
Yeah, who's the guy, the tap dancer?
The wonderful whites of West Virginia.
Jesco White.
Jesco White, yeah.
Jesco White, man, I bet he would be awesome at CrossFit.
Huffed gasoline for like, what, how many years did he do it? Like
Long
30
enough.
years?
Long enough.
And that was like his drug of choice, if you call it a drug.
Threatened to kill his woman for cooking bad eggs.
Oh, man. That's another good one. We got.
Say again? Sloppy egg. Sloppy, slimy eggs.
If you want to be really depressed,
But I
watch
can-
Wonderful Whites of West Virginia.
Yeah. I'm not, I mean, but like, if you ever had eggs cooked poorly,
Oh,
I ain't
okay.
saying he's right. I'm saying I understand.
Yeah, I get it.
You know?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was good.
Oh,
that was
one.
good. That was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So
Send us more questions. We're enjoying them. I get like random ones throughout the week now.
I do too. And Tyler's still looking for a furry. So if there's anybody out there,
Seriously,
that wants
like
to come
don't
in,
be embarrassed. You know, like
You can come in incognito. Like you can wear the furry. You actually have to. I'm not going to let
don't
you in
even
if
have
you
to.
don't.
You can make a fake profile, and you can come. You can just be like, "Hey, I'm interested. We would love to have you because I've got a lot of questions."
Yeah,
Is that a train?
that is.
I didn't even know there was a train around here. Okay.
This has been Bedson and Coffey Unfiltered. Thank you guys for listening.
Make sure to go follow us on social media.